Hey guys, welcome back to another episode here on the Open Road channel. This time is going to be a little bit awkward seeing how I don't have a co-host and I'm all by myself, so not really sure what we're going to talk about. I got no one to bounce ideas off of, no feedback, so it's going to be a little awkward. So let me give that a bit of a thought while we watch this intro. Well, maybe we'll get lucky and someone will come in. So I guess I'll just talk a little bit about my initial experience starting out, driving out over the road, like my first load. When I first started driving, I was in Washington State, and I touched on this a little bit during the first show. I worked for Allied Van Lines, where I ended up finishing my training, getting my CDL. That was an interesting experience. Not really over the road, most of it local. Allied Van Lines, they're a furniture moving company, so you may have seen their trucks, bright orange trucks. I worked for a company called Space Transfer. They're an agent for Allied Van Lines. And so I mostly drove the Class B trucks, the large box trucks, and when needed on certain moving or pack jobs, we would it was a single screw international. It was an old beater truck, and we would either haul our 48-foot dry van, one of the pup trailers, or our 48-foot curtain side, which is we would use for vault. So if anyone ever worked in the furniture industry, you know what I'm talking about. But when I'm talking about vaults, they're a pain in the ass, but not really a whole lot of over-the-road experience. I mean, we were based out of Bremerton, Washington, so occasionally we'll get a pack job where we have to go to Fort Lewis or in Tacoma or as far as Olympia, Lacey, and even sometimes over in the Seattle area. But for the most part, those ones someone else would normally drive because I was new. There was one job down in Tacoma that I did, but that's neither here nor there. Then after I left Space Transfer, we moved down to Arkansas. I went out on the road officially the first time, I guess, with my uncle. And that was a big shock because, going from being home every day to seeing about a month and a half was a real shock. My daughter was 3.5, 4 years old when we moved down here to Arkansas, and so basically a new family and see ya out on the road. And so my uncle at the time was in his 70s, late 60s, 70s. I think he was in his 70s. He was really old school. And so we drove a 2001 or 2002 Freightliner Classic XL. It was a nice truck, 13 speed. He was never a fan of 18 speeds because, well, we're not hauling anything crazy enough to really have to split the low side anyway. So he always favored the 13 speeds, which is what I learned to drive on out over the road. And so we were a team while he wanted to make sure that his truck was the first 13 speed I drove. So before just throwing me out there to the wolves, you want to make sure I understood how to work it and everything else. So I drove with him as a team driver for about maybe 2 months, I think, before he was comfortable enough to let take the other truck, which was a 94 Freightliner XL or FLD, piece of junk. But going back to the first load, he picked me up, and then we went He had a load of, I think it was buckets. He was just going down to Florida for Dollar General, I think it was, or Family Dollar, one of those two. I can't remember one of them. I don't remember which. And so after we got there, we started picking up rugs. We would go to various military bases, whether it's Army, Air Force, whatever, and go to the PXs and BXs, and they would reload the trailer of merchandise going back to a place called LA Rug. I've only met one other person out of my years driving here that is familiar with LA Rug, but get to that in a moment. So it would take 5-7 hours to get fully loaded, and we're not supposed to help. They pay us to drive. They're not giving us any additional revenue to help load and pack, but that doesn't mean we didn't help out here or there. And they would pack the trailer, which is crazy because all these locations that we would pick up at, heck, another driver or even possibly my uncle probably delivered them from LA Rug to these bases. And each base gets, I don't know how many, but I've had as many as 4 stops on one trailer, and they don't waste any space. Every nook and cranny, from the floor to the ceiling, from the nose to the tail, it is jam packed. And that's with all the rugs, all the racks. If you've ever seen a temporary display up where they, show things, it's everything. And we're like a showroom on wheels. And so getting back to LA after we get loaded, it was the return process to LA Rug is a pain in the butt, because where the warehouse is located is on a main street. So you'll have to and you kind of back down a little alley a little bit to get to their dock. And it's the only thing down the alley. You don't have to worry about any other cars. They open the gate from the road, and you have to swing out and just block traffic in both directions and back in and sit there for about 8 hours while they get you unloaded. In LA, downtown LA, you're maybe a mile or something from Compton. So, but picking up at LA Rug is a nightmare because the dock is on the other side of the building, down an alleyway, and you have to back into the inside of the building. There's a lot of places like that, but LA Rug in particular was always a real pain in the butt because on the other side of the alleyway, there was what do you call it? Clothing recycler or something. They take donated stuff and they send it off to countries or whatever that need, a handout, clothing that no one else in the States wants. So they gather all these up, and most of the people that work there they're all Latinos. So there's a bit of a language barrier, but the reason why that's a problem is because they have this whole line down their alleyway that says no parking, but all the employees park there. And due to the language barrier, trying to track down someone that speaks enough English to say, hey, you have to move these 6 cars because they're in the swing path of the truck to back into the building. And it's not like you just back in a little bit. It's not at an angle. It's a straight 90 off the alley, and you back all the way up. I think even part of the sleeper is inside the building. So you go in quite a ways, and there's just enough room on either side of the trailer, maybe a foot on either side. There's no room. So it was a big pain in the butt. And so that was, and getting out of there, you usually get out of there around to LA, there's always traffic. But when you getting out of there around 4 o'clock in the afternoon, you're in downtown LA and you have to head up towards Barstow, you're not going to get into Barstow for several hours, because you're going to hit stop and go traffic trying to leave because everyone else is leaving. My uncle used to joke that the traffic's so bad coming out of LA going up 15 up towards Barstow is because everyone's headed to Vegas. They're trying to get there before it closes. And so that's usually what happens with everybody that's headed up that way. But yeah, so driving with him, really gave me my first bit of experience of driving out on the highway, and it's a completely different beast than staying within 150, 200 miles of your home base and you're going home every day. And considering I started in Washington in a day cab with a single screw or single drive axle to a truck that has a sleeper and two axles and a full-on 53-foot drive van, it was interesting, but it was still exciting. And what made driving with my uncle piquing my interest even more is the fact that we're going from coast to coast. These rugs would go everywhere. I mean, you pick up an LA rug, you'll stop in, Oklahoma, and then you could be up in Kentucky somewhere, then Virginia, and end up in Pensacola, or you pick up over in Jacksonville, Florida, and you pick up all the other places on the way back. I mean, just everywhere. He didn't have a whole lot of stuff going up to Washington, a whole lot. He usually would try to leave. We would leave Oklahoma, head towards the West Coast, deliver whatever load he currently had. We'd normally pick up at Fort Gibson, Oklahoma, pick up a load of Gatorade. That's a funny story. So, and then we would try to run freight from Southern California to Washington, because at the time, it might be different now, I don't know. But running freight going north always paid us better than freight going south. So we would just run I-5 back and forth for, a couple weeks, and then head across, go over towards, Florida, Georgia, do whatever, and head up north through Kentucky, Indiana, Illinois, etc., etc. He was not a fan of the Northeast, wanted to avoid all those toll roads, so we never went over there, thank goodness, especially being a new driver. But then after about 4, 5, or 6 weeks, we would head back to Oklahoma. I'd go home for 4 or 5 days and go back and do it all over again. But after he finally set me loose on my own, I remember my logs were still a mess. I was, I thought I was slick trying to keep track of my logs, but if I saw my logs back then today, I would probably fall out. Safety would have a conniption. Their head would explode, because I vaguely remember some of the craziness that I thought I understood, but it didn't. But when I got first turned loose, I remember I went to California, took stuff from the military bases back to LA Rug. I delivered at LA Rug, and I picked up something. Oh, wait, no. Yeah. So I did that. And then the next time, the month after that, when I went out for the second time on my own, went to Fort Gibson. All right, went to Fort Gibson. I picked up Gatorade. Was Gatorade or Powerade? We'll say Gatorade, okay? And that went to Tolleson, Arizona. And I delivered to one of the Coke facilities over there, and Gatorade facilities. I delivered there, and I reloaded at the same facility and picked up more Gatorade. And that went over to, I think, Bakersfield, California, somewhere over there. I delivered over there, and then I drove an hour north somewhere, and I picked up Powerade. And then that went to Eugene, Oregon, if I remember correctly. And then I had tire issues. T-checks ran out. At the time, we'd get loaded. Once we're loaded, we can get 50% of the rate up front to use for fuel, food, etc., etc. But that particular load didn't pay as well as we hoped it would, and I needed a new drive tire. I had to patch one, had to replace another one. Fuel was scarce, and I sat there for a day waiting for a reload. I finally got a reload. I picked up, it was, what did I pick up? I picked up grass seed and dumpsters. And the whole dumpster load was actually really interesting because, a lot of us, we see these things here, there, furniture, whatever. Anything that we buy is made somewhere. And it's just a dumpster on wheels, nothing exciting. But it's just one of those things that we don't really think about. And being there at the plant, I mean, they got all the welders up and running. They're all welding the panels together, bending pieces in their metal brake and putting wheels on, loading these up. And it was crazy, because it's like, as stupid as it was, a dumpster, it was actually just really fascinating, because, someone has to build these. And it's one of those things that a lot of us just put out of our mind, because it's not important. We don't care. So I got the seed, and that all went to Vancouver, where I delivered at a C.H. Robinson warehouse. And then I got reloaded with a 5-drop load, going from, I think there was a stop in Nebraska, there was a stop in Memphis, and then there was a Hickory in Asheville, North Carolina, all over there. But I had been running more than an outlaw. I was on so much borrowed time, it was ridiculous. And I know that I had to hurry up and get over to the first stop, because that was like a day and a half later. And well, it was much farther than that, because I'd already been running and got to Vancouver, got reloaded, and Vancouver, Washington, not Canada. And I remember coming across Nebraska. I was coming into Lincoln. I needed fuel, so I went past, was it Highway 3 or 10? Maybe it was 10, that cuts off of 70, goes down. Is it 70 or 80? God, it's been so long. What do you think? 80. It was 80. Comes off of 80 and picks up on 29 going down to Kansas City. We would always take that bypass. It'd save much time, because you'd come across and you just, instead of going all the way up and then back down 29. But anyways, but my uncle had always insisted on me taking that highway, but I had to go past that to get to the Flying J, because that's where he wanted us to buy fuel. So we bought fuel there, and I was coming back the other way. I got red lighted and pulled into the scale, probably because I had already got green light going east, and then all of a sudden I'm going back westbound. So I got pulled in. DEA, FBI, and a full squad of DOT was in there just inspecting trailers like crazy. And he'd asked me where I'd come from. He's like, have you delivered or picked up in California? And I'm like, yeah, lots of people do. But asking me if anyone has ever put anything, or if I've ever been asked to haul anything illicit, like drugs or whatever else, or has anyone ever loaded me with drugs without my knowing, which was kind of a stupid question, because if I didn't know, how am I supposed to tell you I didn't know if they, you know what I mean? But they wanted to search the truck and everything else. So the DEA, that's when I found out DEA was there. They had all their little vests on and everything. They're crawling all over the truck. Like, do we have your permission to search your truck? I'm like, yeah, you're not getting far, because it was loaded all the way to the tail. And he continues questioning, and instead of looking at all my bills, which I provided him, my permit book, my log book, which I skated out there. I got lucky. But he had asked me, so where'd you start out? How long you been out already? Like a couple weeks. Where'd you start off at? Oklahoma. Okay, is that where you picked up? Yeah, we went up to Fort Gibson. What'd you pick up? What did you pick up there? Gatorade. Okay, where'd that load go? Tolleson. Okay. What'd you pick up in Tolleson? Gatorade. He just looked at me like, you gave him Gatorade and they put the same Gatorade back on you? I'm like, no. They put a different flavor. Okay. Where'd you take that load? Southern California. What'd you get then? Powerade. And he was like, at this point, he's not believing anything I'm saying. He's like, this guy is full of crap. He picked up Gatorade, delivered Gatorade, picked up Gatorade, delivered Gatorade, picked up Powerade. And I was so happy, because he was at the point where he wasn't believing a damn thing I was saying. But I get up to Oregon, and I pick up there the load. So what'd you get then? Grassy. I was so happy to tell him something other than water, Coke, Gatorade, Powerade. So, but they had DEA crawled all over my truck. And like I said, that one of those T-checks was short, so I was running really low on fuel. And so after they get done crawling all over the truck, and we walk back out there, so I get ready to leave. He gave me my logbook back and paperwork. He tries to trick me. He's like, so how much cash did you have in that truck? I was like, you better not have found any cash in that truck. Oh, and he got all defensive, like, why? Did you think you hit it really well? Is the impression that I got from him. Like, no. You better not have found any cash in that truck, because that shit sure would have come in handy when I was running low on fuel over in Eugene. So you better not have found a damn dime, because it would have been useful like a week ago. So why don't you tell me, how much cash did you find in my truck? Oh, we didn't find any. I was just testing you. Uh-huh. You can go now, sir. I'm like, I was going to, but so that was my first crazy stint with DOT and FBI and the DEA. And so, craziness. But yeah, so that I finally got over that, all that delivered, all those stops. And like I said, I was on borrowed time. I probably was sleeping like 2-3 hours, get up and go. Drove, stop, ate, drove, stop 5-10 minutes, grab me a snack, get back on the road, sleep for 3 hours, and go. I don't know how I didn't get a logbook violation. It's crazy. But yeah, so that's how my driving career started out with my uncle. And then I came off the road for a couple months and worked at a feed mill and worked for Yarnell Ice Cream for a while. And then I've been here for going on 15 years over here at Bowerman Trucking. So that's my story. I was really hoping someone would have poked their head in here and joined me for a little chat, but I guess everyone's afraid of the cameras and microphones, don't want to be famous, but that's fine. So because I'm solo, I think we're going to go ahead and cut this episode short. But before you all go, I'm been working on collecting some stories. I'm hoping someone can send me some stories. The email address here on the channel is theopenroad2023@gmail.com. You can send a message on Facebook at facebook.com/theopenroad2023 is the Facebook page. You can leave them in the comments below as well. I'm wanting stories, seeing how we're in the middle of December. Wanting some crazy experiences or stories or things you've seen or experienced out here on the road during the holiday time. And I want these crazy stories or experiences to be, well, holidays related. You know, who knows, maybe you saw a lot lizard with Daisy Dukes on that were completely rhinestoned and red and green rhinestones, and she had a rhinestone bra with a Christmas cap, a Santa Claus hat on. She wanted to see if you have been a good boy this year. Anything, just let me know in the comments. Send me an email. Tell me your story, and we'll share it out here on the channel. I'm hoping to run into a few people at truck stops and whatnot that are willing to share, make some pretty funny shorts for you guys. So yeah, thank you guys so much for listening or watching. And if you haven't already done so, go ahead and click that subscribe button. That way you can be part of our little crew here, and click the little bell icon so you can get notified of all future content that's going to be coming out here in the future. So if you liked the video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. You can click the thumb down button if you didn't like it for whatever reason, but if you do, let me know in the comment section as to why you didn't like it. If you have any other ideas for future content, other stories you might want us to share, or topics you want us to talk about, be sure to share all that in the comment section below. And if there's a driver in your life or someone that just likes over-the-road stories, be sure and share this video or any of our other videos with them so that they can come on board and join us for all of our little chats. And who knows, when the channel goes live, we'll be able to do live interaction. So thank you guys so much for watching. We will see you next week. Thanks. Bye.